Hi, welcome back. I'm Paul Chartier. You may have seen on the news a great story about Robert Littrell, who's a pharmacist at UK, and he's the executive director of
Six Treasures Ministries.
And what you do is kind of amazing. We got a snippet of it on TV. We have a longer version now to tell your story. But how does someone from pharmacy get into woodworking?
Well, my wife and I guess it's been 12 years ago, we got interested in the homeless through our church in a program called Room in the Inn.
And what church?
That's Centenary United Methodist. And there's a large group of churches, about 20-some churches in town, that during the cold winter months host homeless men each night of the week, give them a meal, treat them with hospitality, and then send them on their way the next day with a lunch. And I got involved with that, and when the season was over in March, I developed a relationship with some of the men, and I just felt like we needed to follow up, and I didn't really want to wait until the next year to do that. So I started hanging out with these guys, and eventually they became kind of part of our family. And we realized that sometimes economic poverty is not the worst part of poverty. I think the relational poverty is one of the more difficult things to kind of replace.
Yes, I get it.
Yeah.
And to your credit, you could have been an on-off switch, on when you're involved in the church. When the season's over, goodbye. I'll see you next time. But this is about the relationship.
Yeah, it just didn't feel right, and
to just discard them.
Yeah. And we also had been kind of getting uncomfortable with kind of the routine of church and Sunday school and Wednesday nights and Bible studies, and we felt like we needed to get outside the walls of the church, and so we were kind of restless at the time. And that's where the Six Treasures title comes from. Is we studied, Leslie and I looked at the Gospels to see, how did Jesus live? And we ran across the scripture, of course, where Jesus says, "Where your treasures is, there your heart will be also." And another scripture about treasures in Timothy, where it says, tell the rich people among you to be generous and share with those in need, and thereby store up for yourselves treasures in heaven. And so we decided that we needed to build some relationships that would become treasures for us with some folks in town that might not have the best relationships.
And your treasure is a gift of woodworking.
Well, that's one of the things. Yeah, this has become kind of somehow it's become sort of the centerpiece of what we've been doing. As we got to know these men, they became part of our lives. And I mean, our family Christmases anymore would not be complete without some of these gentlemen joining us.
Amazing.
They always go home to our parents, and that live far away. We usually take one or two of the guys with us.
That is fantastic.
And they're around the house, and so my grandfather and my father were woodworkers, and I've always enjoyed doing that in my spare time. And so when the guys are at my house, if I'm down in the shop working, then they would just join me. And my wife asked me to make a cutting board for our daughter one Christmas, and one of the men happened to be there, and so we went in the basement and made a cutting board, and she was so excited about it. She said, "Why don't you make one of those for our board members, each of our board members, for Christmas?" And so we did that, and then from there people just started asking about them.
Amazing.
And we began weekly sessions in my basement. We would meet for like 3 hours and work in the shop in my crowded basement.
And you have all 10 fingers.
I have all 10 fingers. That's
no accidents. Okay.
Thank goodness, no accidents. And so we did that for 3 years in my basement, one day a week and one afternoon a week. We would work for 3 hours, and then we'd have a family meal together. And so we've sold thousands of dollars worth of cutting boards over that time, and it began to grow so much that we couldn't hold it in our basement. So last year at this time, our board made the decision, and we leased a space over on National Avenue, and we had our first ever fundraiser, and people were so generous. And we have a very well equipped shop, very nice shop now that we're really excited about working in.
There was somebody famous in the Bible that was also a carpenter.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And look at you
Yeah.
and what you've done through the same craft.
Yeah. I think there's something about wood that I really like, and it is kind of comforting to think that Jesus was a carpenter that worked with wood. And it's so interesting. You see people when they look at one of these pieces, they just want to hold it, touch it,
Yeah.
and feel it. And all the wood that we use here is also locally harvested. It's local. Most of our wood comes from branch and bark sawmill.
I heard about some trees missing at Jacobson Park, but they look beautiful.
That
in this,
wasn't us.
They look beautiful in this form.
Well, a lot of these trees have been cut down in Lexington by tree companies, and they
What are they
take
gonna
them
do
to
with
branch and bark.
Yeah,
and
good.
Branch and bark, cuts them up, puts them in a kiln and dries them, and that's where we get
Oh,
almost
well,
all of our
good.
material now.
They're beautiful.
Yeah. So.
But this is not the main focus of your mission.
Right. Our mission is to build, we say, to build life-giving relationships with Lexington's homeless and poor. And when we say life-giving, we don't mean that's one directional. What I've found is that some of us with houses gain more from the benefit with these homeless men and women
Yep.
than they benefit from us.
It's funny, the people that sit in your seat, the majority get more
Yes.
out of what they do than the people that they serve. Amazing.
Yeah, it completely changed our lives, and it's changed our kids' lives.
How old are your kids?
My son is 27 and my daughter is 20.
To grow up having, who are these men in our house, and have it become normal, had to be great for them.
Yeah, it's really affected both of them. My son and his wife have two children, and two boys. And the second boy they fostered and then adopted. And he was a baby that was born to a mother who was addicted, and he was in the NICU at UK for some time, and they eventually adopted him. And I think my son's compassion and wanting to extend what he feels he's been given to others has really, I think, had a major role in.
I can see it, and the baton's been passed.
Yeah.
How many people are in the mission, and how many people have you think you've touched through the years?
You know, I haven't kept really good count, but just in the last year or so in the wood shop alone, we've had some 20-some volunteers, and about that many or a little bit more of men, or homeless men, or formerly homeless men that come in. And you know, we're not very big. We're all volunteers. We have no paid staff.
Yeah.
So it's all volunteers. But what's nice about that is we get to know one another really well, and it's really neat to see wealthy men and men who may have slept under the bridge the night before, slapping each other on the back, having a cup of coffee together, and really enjoying one another's company.
Genuinely.
Yes.
And again, like we said before, no judging.
Yeah.
And what makes one person any better than nothing?
Nothing.
No, there's no difference.
The comment that I hear from new volunteers more than any is, I had no idea that these men were like me.
Yeah.
You know.
Robert, you want to give your website, please?
Yeah, the website is, our ministry's website is just www.sixtreasures.org. And then we have one for the wood shop too, and it's just all one word, www.ironbridgewoodshop.com.
The items that we're looking at, tell me again how the public can get these items.
Yeah, you can go to the website, and we have a link to an Etsy site that we sell these from. I tell people we don't really advertise that a lot, but I tell people to go there, and we have purchases made off of there, but they can see some of the things that we make. And then if they want to click the email link on the website, they can email me, and we can arrange for them to pick them up locally so they don't have to pay to ship them, or we can ship them directly to them.
Just a guess.
Yeah.
How many states have you shipped to so far?
Well, we have a map up in
Okay.
the shop of states, and I don't know the exact count, but we've shipped them to Hawaii.
Is that
We've
right?
shipped them to Washington, Oregon, California. We have them. We have one. We have some of our products in a place in India, in Germany, in Africa, and so we've sent them all over the world.
And here are these men who are moving from a life of solitary isolation under a bridge to making this. And what's the look on their face of pride when they make this?
Oh, it's really special. I mentioned to you, I think before, we sell these. The city sells these down at the Visit Lex Visitor Center shop
In the old courthouse.
In the old courthouse.
Yep.
And occasionally I'll take one of the gentlemen in there to see the products, and
It's got to blow their mind.
it really does. And the staff there are so kind and generous and encouraging, and it's a real delight to go in there, because if you can imagine being homeless, you don't get a lot of pats on the back, and to have done something with your hands and to have someone else appreciate it and value it and pay money for it, it's just a very special thing. I say that the wood shop gives the opportunity for the men to connect with one another, to create relationships. It gives them opportunity to create something, which oftentimes, especially the homeless, don't have that opportunity. And then the last thing is they're able to contribute something. So all the proceeds go right back into the organization, and also the people that are buying these products are using them. So
what's next for you?
You know, I'm not sure. We want to. We're going to expand to. We only do one session a week now. In March, we're hoping to open a Saturday morning session.
Out on National Avenue?
Yes.
Okay.
And we're also going to begin to host a breakfast. I think on Tuesday mornings in March, that we're going to be opening to some of the men that we have yet to meet, to try to encourage some new folks to come in.
Could you not have an open house?
We did have an open house at Christmas, and or right before Christmas.
And you sold things?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
And we're going to have another one this coming Christmas. We'll have our second ever fundraiser in April, and then probably in November we'll have an open house. So we're looking forward to that.
To get the people in and have that connectivity between these beautiful men who have been dealt a bad hand, are creating beautiful items like this.
Yes, they do. It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
The name of the show is Heart of Gold. And it's what my mom used to say to people that were good to other people. You have a heart of gold.
I'm not sure about that, but I appreciate it.
And I'm glad to have you
Yes,
on.
thank you.
Best of luck to you, Robert. It's been a pleasure to get to know you better.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Paul Chartier. We'll see you next time on Heart of Gold.